On today's show, the Boston Celtics had multiple chances late in Game 4 to go up 3-1 in the series against the Philadelphia 76ers, but the Sixers were able to hang on and even the series at 2 games apiece. What are the keys to slowing down James Harden moving forward in this series for Boston? What's going on with the Celtics' late-game execution? And what adjustments can we expect heading into Game 5 of the series? It's all coming up right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Next game, how about Jimmy Butler to score more than 26.5 points? What about LeBron James to have more than 7.5 rebounds? Or how about Kevin Durant to have less than 6.5 assists? Or what about Steph Curry to have more than 3.5 three-pointers made? So what is Prize Picks? It's daily fantasy sports, but how does it work? Basically, you pick 2 to 6 players. If they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times back on your money on any entry that you submit. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. That's NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA. They've got you covered for everything over at Prize Picks. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that simple. They're safe. They offer fast withdrawals. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. And right now, every day of the NBA playoffs, one Prize Picks user will win a chance at becoming a millionaire. But you have to download the app to find out how. So download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. So don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Celtics, John Karalis. You can find wherever you listen to your podcasts and on YouTube. Just search Locked On Celtics. And John, the Celtics losing Game 4 here against the Sixers, 116-115 in overtime. Nail biter all the way up to the very end. Give me, look, Marcus Smart had a couple different chances to win this game, right? A three-pointer at the end of the regulation, then, another three that was waved off at the end of overtime, just, a couple more tenths of a second, and that shot would have counted. Give me your number one reason, though, for why the Celtics lost this Game 4.
Number one reason is that they came out in the first half and didn't have they didn't match the Sixers' intensity. They let Harden get a little too comfortable. And once you let Harden get comfortable, once you realize that he's feeling it, they didn't take him out of his comfort zone early. You let him walk into some shots, you let him get going and feel good about himself and have that confidence early. That's why he's able to hit that shot at the end of the overtime and give the Sixers the lead. So whenever there's a 1-point game, a buzzer beater type situation, I always look back at all the other things the Celtics could have done. There are missed free throws in the fourth quarter. There are missed assignments. The Jaylen Brown doubling off of Harden, making that decision. And then there's the make-miss stuff. Al Horford misses a three-pointer that could have given the Celtics a 4-point lead with a minute and a half to go. That changes the entire dynamic of this. But you got to go back to the beginning. And Tatum was kind of a no-show in the first half, aside from some rebounds. If he had a normal Tatum game consistently from the beginning, then this might have been a different story.
Harden was, phenomenal there in Game 1. Then he was honestly pretty awful in Games 2 and 3. And again, had a pretty sensational game here in Game 4. I know you touched on it there momentarily about just Celtics not necessarily making him, uncomfortable or him kind of getting into a rhythm as this game went along. But is there anything more that you can kind of look at and how different things were in Games 2 and 3 versus 1 and 4 here and how Boston has handled James Harden so far this series?
Yeah, well, the joke is that he took 2 games off and, with all that extra rest, that's why he was able to play well. He plays well with 6 days rest. But in reality, the Sixers, I think, were trying real hard to get Jaylen Brown off of James Harden. Jaylen has been really good at guarding Harden and has bothered him a lot. And they got a couple of fouls on Brown early, and maybe that took some of the aggressiveness away from him. And I think the Sixers got the switches, more favorable matchups, and Harden got going. And sometimes when he gets going early, it's really hard to shut that water off. So I thought they did a good job of trying to force other defenders, other matchups onto Harden so he could take advantage of those.
I know you mentioned Tatum and kind of his first half struggles in this game. Right? He was 0 of 8 to start this one before finally hitting a shot just before halftime. And then he kind of bounced back there, though, in the second half. He finished with 24 points on the evening, 9 of 20 to wrap things up. So that's, he had a strong second half. But should Celtics fans be encouraged to see him kind of turn it on in the second half, or concerned that he struggled so much right out of the gate in this one?
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to see the perfect game all the time, and he definitely needed to be more aggressive early on. I think when he came out of the half, and the first thing he did was a spin move down the middle, and finishing and drawing some fouls and getting to the line. You say, oh well, where was that for the first 24 minutes of this game? So there, it's a little bit of both, Jackson. It's why didn't you come out as well as you did in the second half? Why couldn't you play a more consistent type of basketball? But at the same time, not everybody has not every star has a 48-minute masterpiece, and sometimes you have a bad quarter or a bad half. And the fact that he turned it around and had 22 after halftime, and that he was so instrumental in he hit some really big shots, I think that's encouraging. Now, the decision making at the end has to be better. The final play of the overtime, you mentioned before, Marcus Smart just getting it a half second too late, or not even. That has to be better execution from Tatum. He has to go sooner. He can't just get the ball at 7 seconds and expect to be able to draw two and kick and make a play. So that part still has to get better. It's just a little bit more consistency overall with Tatum's game.
The newly crowned reigning MVP of the NBA, Joel Embiid, he struggled, in his coronation night, game 2, but then he put up 30 in game 3 and now 34 here in the game 4 win. You mentioned earlier the play where Jaylen decided to double off Harden that led to the go-ahead three-pointer in this game. Overall, though, how have you felt about the Celtics' ability to defend Embiid so far in the series? How do you think they're handling him on that side of the ball?
I think they're doing all right. I mean, he's still Joel Embiid, so he's going to hit some shots. He hit some jumpers that were tough. He started off in this game in the first half with a lot more posting up than we've seen. So it makes you think like the knee is starting to get a little bit stronger, because posting up, you got to push off that leg, and it's hard. It's hard work.
It's a lot more demanding than settling for floaters or in the mid-range.
That's right. And he's getting tired at the end. He'll get his, right. He'll get his. The key is to not let the other guys get theirs. And that's why the Harden game is so problematic for the Celtics. But the fourth quarter, the Celtics really, really did a great job. Al Horford did an amazing job on Embiid in the fourth quarter. It really sucks that they wasted that defensive effort on Joel Embiid, because Horford blocked him 3 times and straight up, not like help side blocks, straight up. And Embiid was gassed, and so that kind of helps level the playing field a little bit. So yeah, he'll get his stuff early, but if the Celtics can continue that late and continue if he continues kind of running out of gas there late. Look, he played 40 minutes in the last game. He played 47, I think, in this one, 46. He played a ton of minutes there. So at some point, I think I just don't know how much he's going to have as the series rolls on. I think that tank's going to get emptier sooner. So just make him work really, really hard. I think the Celtics have good plans for how to defend him, and just make sure that the next time in the fourth quarter, when he gets the ball, that he's getting it when he, winded, and hopefully the Celtics can kind of cash in on that.
Kind of the inverse of Jayson Tatum here. Jaylen Brown was really efficient in the first half of this game, but then had what seemed very little involvement in the second half. Kind of what went on there? Why was he was 7 of 11 in the first half, really phenomenal first half, and then only had 5 shots the rest of the game. Second half, OT, all of that. So why is such little involvement for Jaylen Brown in the second half? Is that just a hierarchy thing or what?
Yeah, it shouldn't be. He had no shots in the overtime. I think sometimes They end up using him as a floor spacer because he's so dangerous. So he sets up in the final play of the overtime. Tatum waves him off, tells him to get in the corner, and Jalen's kind of coming up. Well, what's Jalen going to do at that point? Is he going to fight on the court with the clock ticking down? No, he's not. He's going to go into the corner and he's going to sit there and be a dangerous guy. And he opens up a huge driving lane for Tatum. PJ Tucker was never going to help off of Jaylen Brown. So that's an effective strategy. It's just that it's always Jaylen Brown doing the spacing, and it's always Jayson Tatum taking advantage of the space. And I think they just have to be better playing off of one another. Why not screen for each other in that final play? Why is Marcus Smart or Derek White setting the screen and they double off of Derek White? By the way, Jayson Tatum missed a wide open Derek White. Why not have Jalen or Jayson and screen for each other and force a switch? But you won't get double teamed.
Yeah, you've got 2 star players, right? Like force a switch, choose the most favorable matchup. Like, yeah.
That's what I want to see. And I don't know why that doesn't happen. And everybody's got an opinion on that. That I don't care that they didn't call a timeout in the final play. I'm okay with that, actually. I understand you want to keep Maxey and Harden on the floor. Why not get Jaylen Brown involved and make sure that going into these situations that's a play, that those two screening for one another is an option, and they need to start using that more instead of having Jaylen Brown just be spacing in the corner, because it's a waste of talent.
For a full in-depth breakdown on this game and the rest of the series as things shift back to Boston for Game 5. Of course, you'll have us covered for all that and more over at Locked On Celtics. John, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Thanks, man.